Welcome to Immigration Quicktake. This is Ellie Rutledge with the American Immigration Lawyers Association. At an appearance at the National Press Club this week, Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas provided updates on the crisis at the border and addressed concerns of conditions in detention facilities like Artesia. Here to discuss what Deputy Secretary Mayorkas had to say, as well as what is happening in court for these families, is Greg Chen, Director of Advocacy at AILA. Greg, thanks for joining me. Let's start with the briefing from Deputy Secretary Mayorkas. What struck you the most from what he said?
Well, Ellie, the Deputy Secretary in his remarks was really trying to make a clear point that DHS is making real efforts to address the situation of the unaccompanied children as well as the families that are coming here from Central America. And AILA's had a lot of engagement with various folks at the administrative level, and we appreciate the efforts that they are making to try to ameliorate the conditions and the situation. The real disconnect, however, is that the White House is sending a clear message that what they are trying to do is send a signal of deterrence to the families, the children who are fleeing from real violent circumstances in these Central American countries. And by our assessment, many, if not most of them, are bona fide refugees with valid asylum claims. And the administration just isn't hearing that. And in fact, we have heard that their perspective is many of these people, most of these people, are not entitled to any kind of relief and simply need to be deported. So Crystal Williams, in fact, asked the Deputy Secretary a question about why these people are being detained and why aren't they being released on bond or alternatives to detention. And that is where the real crux of the problem is, and the White House has made it clear. They intend to maintain a rapidly escalating family detention policy, and that's what we are hearing across the board is going to be their practice. And that is why AILA yesterday sent a letter, not just on behalf of the national office, but signed by the lead attorneys of the AILA Artesia Pro Bono project, explaining why we are opposed to this across-the-board detention practice of the families that are coming here, fleeing from Central America, and the rapid deportation process that DHS has set up. And we sent that letter both to the President as well as to Congress, urging them to stop this.
Thanks, Greg. Last week you were able to observe hearings at the Executive Office for Immigration Review Headquarters Court, which is overseeing the cases from Artesia. What was that experience like?
Well, Ellie, last week I and Karen Lucas from our staff were able to go observe at the Arlington, Virginia court remotely by video teleconference the hearings that were going on in Artesia. And the judge was in Arlington watching as well, and we were in his courtroom as he heard various cases come up for master calendar hearings as well as a substantive bond hearing. And the first impression that you get, Ellie, when you're watching these hearings is honestly unbearable. You've got mothers coming in with mostly infant or toddler children who are sitting by their side or cradled in the arms, who are bottle feeding, who are still too young to even be holding their heads up. And the mothers are sitting there with their children having to answer questions about circumstances of why they came here, what their family situation is, and it's just extremely difficult to see what is happening there. And so at first blush, it's painful. And honestly, to even have witnessed that, I can't imagine how challenging it is for anybody to be in detention there. Really, it's a huge kudos to all the attorneys that are going there, volunteering on their own time, their own dollar to be there and working around the clock to try to make sure that all of these people get the best possible advice and legal counsel in all their cases. The one major hearing that we did have the opportunity to observe was a bond hearing involving a woman who had a 6-month-old child there. For confidentiality reasons, I won't give more details than that, but I will say that the government in that bond case, like every other one they have we've seen come across, took the position that these families and their children, mothers, are national security risks, relying on a completely specious assertion based on an old case, matter of DJ. And here you've got a woman who has family here in the United States, who has a child who's an infant, and there's just no possible basis on her individualized circumstance that she could be a national security risk. And yet the government attorney is asserting that across the board. and in fact said, look, she is part of the surge of people coming across from Central America, and on that basis is a national security risk. Well, she testified that she actually came here because she had been beaten almost to near death by her husband only weeks or days before she came, and that's why she came. That kind of government position is what we need to see stopped, and that's what we are asking the government to review. A no-bond or extremely high-bond policy is going to effectively deny all these families any opportunity to be released from detention and effectively result in their being sent back without a meaningful opportunity to access asylum or other legal protections. And that is what AILA is trying to do now, to really explain to the media and to Congress and to the administration why their policy needs to be changed.
Thanks, Greg, for joining us. For the rest of you, please stay tuned for more updates from the American Immigration Lawyers Association.